this is my review of Assassination Classroom. Okay, so in this episode, it's the final boss time. It's the fight against Takaoka. So, if you guys don't remember what happened last episode, Takaoka blew up the antidote and Nagisa is livid. So Nagisa declares that he's going to kill Takaoka for everything he's done, and Takaoka outright encourages it, pointing out that he's more than welcome to see what Nagisa has. But as they're about to fight, and everybody quickly realizes that this could go off the rails quickly if they're not careful. And to snap Nagisa out of his murderous rage, Tarasuke lobs his stun gun at Nagisa's back and hits him square in the back with it. At which point he responds that he can't give in to his murderous impulses, pointing out that that's exactly what Takaoka wants, and that he needs to be more calm and approach this carefully, because if he gives in to his rage, then Takaoka wins. And Koro-sensei confirms exactly what's going on, and basically just confirms that he completely agrees with what Tarasuke has to say, pointing out that they know that they have the guy downstairs that was responsible for actually poisoning the kids, and that all they need to do is ask him what's going about the situation and make sure that everything is fine and that he can actually whip up an antidote. At which point Takaoka reveals that he didn't blow up all of it and actually saved a couple of vials, but points out that it's likely not enough to actually save anybody. And points out that he also will smash the vials into the ground if they don't back off and let Nagisa and Takaoka have their fight. And everybody concedes, but Koro-sensei tells Karasuma to keep an eye on Takaoka and make sure that, and if he ever feels like Nagisa's life is in danger, to shoot at him. And Karasuma is concerned, pointing out that not only that usually Koro-sensei has this sort of sixth sense for this sort of thing, and realizes that if he's telling Karasuma to shoot to kill, that it is likely pretty serious situation. And also during this entire bout, Tarasuke collapses, and they realize just exactly what happened to him. And so basically his entire being poisoned by the class thing is now known to the rest of the class. So they now know that he's sick. But in any case, Nagisa picks up the stun gun and sticks it into his belt, which concerns everybody because they realize he's going with the knife and are quickly realizing that that's dangerous, and that Nagisa most likely has him snapped out of his murderous impulses. But in any case, Nagisa and Takaoka fight, and the fight is, for lack of a better word, it's completely one-sided. Takaoka quickly reveals that he has not only trained himself to his fine point during his military training, but that because he's lost weight, he's actually a lot stronger than he was during the initial fight. So Nagisa's tricks that worked before aren't going to work anymore. And Nagisa is quickly getting the shit beaten out of him by Takaoka. And Nagisa is quickly on his feet, and several of the students can't bear to watch it anymore. At which point, Takaoka whips out the knife that Nagisa used to defeat him in the last time they met, pointing out that this is going to be the final point of his revenge, and that he's going to defeat Nagisa with the very knife that he used to defeat Takaoka, and that he's going to basically skin him alive with it. At which point Karma remarks out aloud that he realizes that Nagisa is getting hammered, and that he needs to, it would be a much more fair fight if he had been in there to deal with it. At which point Tarasuke reveals that if Karma had actually come to class every once in a while, he would know that the situation is far from hopeless and that it's not over yet. At which point it's revealed what technique Nagisa was actually taught by Lovro all those episodes ago. And sure enough, Nagisa puts it completely into action, while also flashing back to the moment when Lovro actually taught him. As it turns out, what he taught set up 3 criteria for what is actually supposed to happen. That he needs a secondary weapon, which he has. The opponent needs to be stronger than him, which he is, and the opponent has had to have faced death before, which they have. So Nagisa realizes that he's 3 for 3 and begins to put the technique into action. And it is explained via the flashback that the technique isn't actually a one-hit kill technique, but rather it opens them up for an easy kill. It opens the opponent up for an easy kill because of how it works. But in any case, Nagisa closes the gap between him and Takaoka. Takaoka is panicking because he realizes something is off. And Nagisa holds Takaoka's attention with the knife, getting closer and closer, while Takaoka begins panicking because he's noticing that the tip of the knife is getting closer, and he's not entirely sure if he's kind of panicking because he knows that Nagisa can be dangerous, and he's on guard. At which point, Nagisa reveals the technique. He drops his knife, uses what the new technique called a stun clap, which I should point out, depending on the opponent, it can either temporarily stun them at best or completely paralyze them at worst. But in this case, it's the former. But Nagisa uses the stun clap, then whips up the stun gun and zaps Takaoka with it, and Takaoka realizes he's been beaten again. At which point he's held at gunpoint by Nagisa's stun gun, and Nagisa begins to remark about finishing him off to himself, pointing out that while he doesn't exactly approve of Takaoka's methods, he's a teacher like anybody else. At which point he simply smiles and thanks Takaoka for teaching him everything he knows. At which point Takaoka realizes that the smile is going to haunt him for the rest of his life, because at this point he's panicking. He's completely disoriented because he's now not only been defeated once but twice by Nagisa, and is beginning to realize that he shouldn't take Nagisa so lightly, even though he realized that he was quickly realizing that he's actually no match for Nagisa, and then is electrocuted by Tarasuke's stun gun, and he's taken down, and the rest of the students cheer. Although the celebration is kind of cut short because they quickly while they were all a little worried about Nagisa and if he was actually going to go through with killing Takaoka, they quickly realized a problem in that the vials that Takaoka was holding have actually smashed against the ground. And Kurasama merely responds that they can work something out and that they can easily find a way to reverse engineer the antidote. At which point, Gastro, Grip, and Smog show up, pointing out that that's not going to be any good. And while the Class 3E and Kurasama are gear up for a fight, since they realize that they've now taken down their boss, and they're most likely going to want revenge. They're gearing up and prepared to fight them. But then Gastro merely reiterates his point, pointing and clarifies what he's talking about. As it turns out, none of Class 3 was lethally poisoned with what Takaoka wanted them to be poisoned with. As it turns out, they knew the whole time that Takaoka was planning to blow up the antidote and was going to condemn the students to their death if he did that. So Smog prepared he prepared a ruse in his lab. He whipped up the actual poison that he was supposed to use, but what he gave the Class 3E instead was basically enhanced food poisoning, as he puts it. He took the virus that causes food poisoning, and he modified it to make them feel like they're going to die, and make it seem like it's lethal, even though it's actually not. It's just really potent food poisoning, and the students are going to be fine. At which point he hands them a series of tablets and tells Kurasama that they should give them to the rest of the students, and they'll probably recover within a couple of hours. And Kurasama merely responds that he's glad for their help, but until they can confirm that the tablets actually work, he'll have to take them into questioning, which they happily agreed to. At which point, they respond that they will see that they will meet Class 3E again whenever they become pros and become worthy targets, and then they leave in the chopper, and then another second chopper comes and picks the rest of Class 3E up. At which point, Nagisa tells Takaoka that he appreciates what he did, and to get him out of his funk, and appreciates him for basically helping him in the fight. And Tereshko really responds that it's no problem and that he knows that Nagisa's a good kid and that he wouldn't be, and that murdering somebody just isn't right regardless of who they are. At which point they return to the beach. And Koro Sensei is being held in a government ship until he returns back to his normal form. And the students of Class 3E have all dressed into their casual PE uniforms, so that they can just kind of be in comfy clothes for the rest of the day. At which point, they begin to remark about all the amazing adults they've met in the past, and who they've met in the past semester. And they remark that a part of growing up is just seeing what kind of adults you idolize and doing your best to be like them. They pointing out that everybody except Takaoka is actually pretty cool, and that they wouldn't mind turning out to be exactly like them in the future. But immediately after this sentiment, Koro Sensei, there's just a huge explosion, and Koro Sensei shows up back in his normal octopus form. And everybody is proud to have him back. And Koro Sensei remarks that it's pretty good to be back, and is prepared to finally get their vacation in high gear. But the students merely remark that they go home in less than a day. And they go home tomorrow morning, and it's already sunset. So Koro Sensei realizes that he needs to make up for lost time and starts moving at Mach 20 to do as many things as he can in as little time as possible. And the guys just kind of take advantage of the situation and open fire on him. And Karma even goes to hand Nagisa a gun, asking him if he wants to actually take some target practice on the octopus, basically. But Nagisa merely turns him down. At which point the girls decide to go for a swim and reveal that everybody except Kaede, who was left in the dark about the whole situation, reveal that they had actually worn their swimsuits underneath their gym clothes, and then proceed to have a splash fight in the ocean. At which point Koro Sensei decides that he wants to be a part of the splash fight, but chickens out the last second because he remembers his weakness to water. And Okajima, well, he decides to intervene in the splash fight as well, but he strips down basically everything, including his let's just say he's naked. I don't know the exact word, so let's just say he's naked, and the girls notably pummel him for being a pervert. And Karasuma merely remarks that they might as well pack up and go home, since they really had no chance of killing Koro Sensei anyway, so he figures they might as well pack up. At which point Irina shows up and asks him to basically ditch the kids for a while and just kind of go to a relaxing spot, just the two of them. But Karasuma just kind of turns him down, and when the kids call her out for getting rejected, she just kind of goes ballistic and chases after all of them. But amidst all this chaos, Koro Sensei actually walks up next to Nagisa and nuzzles his head, pointing out that he couldn't be more proud of him for all of that he's done. And Nagisa just silently agrees. But with that, their vacation comes to the end, and it's back to the old grind. They go right back to school, and another day in their assassination classroom starts. So that's the end of season 1. Obviously there's the second season. The second season is in my opinion when it actually takes off, because a lot of the plot points that were established in this episode, they get more fleshed out in the second season. So just look out for that. A lot of the quote unquote plot for this series, it gets revealed in the second season. So I'm looking forward to covering that for you guys. The second season is going to be fun to review, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it. But for right now, that's the end of season 1 of Assassination Classroom. So what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks. I'm always saying thanks, so be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!